Here's your football game. High snap. Wisnowski got it down. Robbie Gould's kick is good!
Wow. We love that. All guests are coming to you via the Fire Wings hotline. Try one of their delicious flavors of wings today. Fire Wings, just wing it. Let's bring him in. The voice of the 49ers, the most entertaining team in football, Greg Papa. That's what we've been saying every week. They either put on a show, play a great football game, win or lose, low scoring, high scoring. You have to have a blast covering this team because they are really fun to watch.
11-2? Are you kidding me? And the games have been just epic. I mean, the Steeler game, which gets overlooked, I think, right down to the end of the game-winning touchdown pass to Dante Pettis. The Arizona game when, Jimmy hit Jeff Wilson Jr. on the option route at the end to win that game. And just so many good games, obviously. The Baltimore game was a really good game. They fell short in that game. Their two losses have been also outstanding games. I don't really think anybody's soundly beaten them. I think they just outscored the 49ers, and the 49ers ran out of time. And I think if they get a shot at either Seattle, and obviously we're going to see in the last game of the year, but even in January or Baltimore in February, I think the 49ers could beat them. But all that being said, this game Sunday was instant classic. One of the best football games I've ever seen. Maybe the best game I've ever broadcasted as far as the skill that was being exhibited, the offensive play callers going back and forth, the importance of the game, 10-2 teams this late in the year, just all of it. I mean, this could decide ultimately who represents the NFC in the Super Bowl, and it went right down to the very end, and the great drama of Robbie Gould not having a great year and being injured and having to make 6 extra points and 2 field goals in the game winner, and the 4th and 2 play, one of the best plays in the history of the franchise as far as the regular season goes. So yeah, they are the most entertaining team in football. I agree with you. I'm privileged to be calling these games every week.
Well, speaking of that, with the legends that have called games for the 49ers over the years, checking ESPN.com, you have by far the highest winning percentage. Do you feel a special kind of pressure?
What was Don Klein's winning percentage? He arrived right when they won that first Super Bowl, so his was pretty good.
It was pretty good.
You didn't actually figure that out.
No, I'm just guessing that 11-2 is the best winning percentage in the history of Niners play-by-play guys. You could not, Greg, have asked, with all the tumultuousness and craziness that was going on with you and your job and moving and all that last year. I'm as a Niner fan and also as a regular person, I find myself being very happy for you that you've been able to see, and I think Jason nailed it. I don't think there's been a team game in and game out, and even their 2 losses, when you combine that with last weekend, they are the most entertaining team in football, and even those losses have to be extremely fun games to call.
Now, 2 of the best, the Seattle game and the Baltimore game, are epics, and we could see that over again in the NFC title game or the Super Bowl. So yeah, I'm with you, but I think Nick Bosa has the same 1-loss record that I do.
Okay.
And 19-4. Let's see, that would be 8-2 versus 11-2.
Uh-huh.
So I guess 11-2 is better than Jimmy's record. So I guess I'm the Italian here that has flipped this franchise.
Well, how about Jimmy G, Greg? Because it seems like we talk about him every week, and was this his best game? Because I thought he was spectacular.
Yeah, it's hard to judge. I think you go into that dome in New Orleans and you're slinging it with Drew Brees and Sean Payton on the other side. So it's just so much fun. I don't know if it was his best. He's played high-quality games, obviously, this year. He's had 4 touchdown games. But I think the importance of the game late in the year, everything I said, that 4th and 2 throw, and when you compound the noise factor, that dome, I was there with the Raiders the first game of 2016, and it was loud. But it's gotten much louder, I think. It's brighter, for one thing, since the power outage when the 49ers were there in Super Bowl 47. They've increased the wattage. It's just brighter in there, and I think the fans are brighter. I think they're an angry fan bunch now since what's happened to them and the non-call and the Minneapolis Miracle. Their hearts broken. So there was a real edge, and that game had no ramp-up. It started right away, and it was just loud. So for Jimmy to be able to function in the noise like that, I mean, just about every play call that came in from Kyle, he had to cup his ear holes to hear it. They were in the huddle as long as they possibly could. They broke the huddle with 15 when the sideline communication goes out. When they got in the huddle, they had to physically get as close as they could to each other. Whenever Kyle Juszczyk was in the game, the fullback, he would take a knee, and they would all get in tighter. And then when he was not in the game, I saw Weston Richburg do it before he got hurt, and Mike Person, the right guard, do it, where they were just as close as they could get. And Jimmy was screaming. I mean, just to get the play snapped, and then to be able to go out there and roll up over 500 yards and score 6 touchdowns and kick 2 field goals and score 48 points. So, he's played as well. But when you combine it all, and just some of the off-script plays where he held the ball so long, the one to Kendrick's second touchdown, just the way he's always looking downfield and waiting for him to uncover. The ball that he got out in the right flat to Juszczyk, and Juszczyk took the helmet to helmet. He held the ball for 10 seconds on that play. And he had to shake Cam Jordan. He had Demario Davis, the linebacker, draped around his legs, and he was still able to get it off. So the bigger question is, I don't know why he doesn't get the attention. Usually quarterbacks get way too much attention. They get way too much money, and the game just always revolves around him. I don't know why he doesn't get overplayed. It's underplayed with him. I just saw a ranking on ESPN, the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. Jimmy's not mentioned at all. He's, fourth in the NFL, I think, in touchdown passes with 25. And he's right behind Lamar, who's got 28. Not like he's too far behind. And he's got, like Lamar, a record of 11-2, 2 best records in football. So he played great. He's playing certainly well enough to win a Super Bowl. And I just wonder why he doesn't get more attention that he does get, and more praise.
Voice of the 49ers, Greg Papa, joining us. Greg, the Falcons have won 3 of 5, including in New Orleans, 2 games over the Panthers, and even their last game at home against the Saints, the revenge game for New Orleans, they lost by a possession. You've got history with Kyle Shanahan, obviously. Atlanta made some maneuverations in their coaching staff, especially on the defensive end. Is this, to you, combined with all the injuries they paid for in that New Orleans game, the Niners, is this the epitome of a trap game to you?
Yeah, but everything you said, I don't think you can go into it feeling it that way. I hear what you're saying. Their one-loss record is not great, but I watched their last games, and they were 1-7 to start, and it coincided with them going to New Orleans and really soundly beating New Orleans. Their pass rush is big time. Grady Jarrett is big time. Vic Beasley, Tack McKinley, Deion Jones, the linebacker, is really fast. And then you've got Matt Ryan on the other side. There have been 10 quarterbacks in the history of the NFL to throw for 50,000 yards, and he's number 10. And he may get John Elway in this game and go to 9. And then they got Julio Jones. They got Devontae Freeman. They got 3 good tight ends. They got a lot of weapons. They're a scary team because I think they're good. I thought they were going to be good, like bounce back, get in the playoffs good. But they did not have a lot of production early in the year. Their defense is playing much better. They're getting a lot more sacks and a lot more turnovers, and that's what flipped them around. So I don't know if the 49ers will look past them. I think we just, with all the injuries, I mean, you're not going to have Dee Ford. You're not going to have DJ Jones, obviously. You're not going to have Sherman. We'll see about K1. I don't think you're going to have Jaquiski Tard. Ugh. So, you're missing a lot of pass rush, and you're missing a lot of cover on the back end. I mean, they're going to be compromised. Is K1 Williams going to be able to go with the concussion? So I think it's a game that you're going to have to be on point to win. But I don't know if you're going to be trapped like, we're just going to show up and beat those guys. I think in light of all the injuries, a lot of guys who are going to have to, when the 2019 49ers season review video tape is made, I think the title is going to be, and hopefully it's, the quest for 6 is realized and they got the 6th Super Bowl, but I think it's next man up.
Yeah.
All year long, you've lost the fullback, the right tackle, the left tackle. You lost the center for the year. You lost your weak side linebacker. You lost corners. You lost safeties. You lost, go on and on and on. Robbie Gould, you lost your place kicker. So it's just injuries have been everywhere, and they've been able to overcome and just win. So I expect them to do that, but I don't think if it does go a little sideways and it comes down to the end on Sunday, I don't think it's going to be because they're overlooking them. I think it's just because Atlanta's playing better, and the 49ers got a lot of injuries.
You mentioned the one there, DJ Jones. Nose tackle never gets a lot of stats, but there's so much value to what that position brings. What will be the impact of that injury?
Well, I think Sheldon Day is going to have to start, for one, and Sheldon does mix in, and Sheldon's a good player, but DJ is just so quick and forceful. I mean, he gives you a really good inside pass rush. His get-off is incredible, and he's so fast for a man his size, and then he's so stout inside. He's on your short yardage and goal line. I mean, all those 4th and 1 stuffs the 49ers have this year, DJ Jones has been in the middle of almost all of them. So you're going to miss just a good, underrated football player. I don't know if Contavia Street will be activated or not, but you're going to have to get some inside play on the nose and tree technique if you're sliding people around. You're not going to have D Ford anyway, so usually Eric Armstead slides outside and plays more. As an edge rusher, not only the base, but in the nickel. So you just got a lot of injuries on that defensive line. DeMontre Moore and Ronald Blair, and now DJ and D. So whenever you have a lot of injuries in one area of the football team, it's not good, obviously. But they've had that with the tackles. McGlinchey was out, Staley was out, Sean Coleman. I mean, for 4 and 6 weeks, you were playing your 4th and 5th tackles, and they were fine. And then on top of that, they lose Weston Richburg. The center's out the year. So the ones that concern me, and then Sherman, those guys are going to come back at some point. They're not going to come back for Sunday, a lot of them. But the ones you're not going to get back are Quan, and you're not going to get Weston Richburg back. So you're going to have to make do with younger players. Now, Ben Garland's not a young player, but he's not played a lot as a starter. So, yeah, DJ Jones' injury, he's an underrated guy. But, fans of the 49ers, and you guys know what a great player 93 has been all year.
Greg Papa, voice of the 49ers, with us. I'd like to go back to the game over the weekend, and I'm sure you've seen the stat. There's no team this late in the season that has played a tougher 3-game stretch than the 49ers just got done with, and that's before we even talk about Seattle before that. That game, Greg, I don't care how smart of an analyst anyone is. The one thing I did not see predicted was that the Saints were going to absolutely shred the Niner defense to start and vice versa. Both teams, as you know, had the over-under on their own by the end of the game. You mentioned how fun it was to call that game. Was there was your heart rate basically double from the opening bell until the final whistle?
Well, yeah, because it was just one of there was no ramp up to this game. Right when the Saints got the ball, they went right down the field and scored. And then when the 49ers got the ball back the other way, they went right down the field and scored. And then back and forth like a tennis match. Who's going to break serve? But as far as the defense goes, going into the game, I thought Drew Brees was a little bit off. I thought the thumb injury, the UCL injury that he had when he hit Aaron Donald early in the year, they were just off. He was just missing Jared Cook on some really makeable throws. They weren't scoring like they normally score. Since he and Coach Payton got there after Hurricane Katrina in 2006 when they got there, they scored in the high 20s average, and they were in the 24, and I just thought they were off. And then right away, man, they're not off. He was on point, and Jared Cook scored the first 2 touchdowns, but then he went out. I think that Sean Payton is such a great play designer, like Kyle, and they attack weaknesses in the defense, and they went at the injury of Jaquaski Tart. Not having him and having Marcel Harris play in the deep safety, they went at him. And they went at the young linebackers, not having Quan Alexander and Dre Greenlaw on the field for more snaps. There was a big separation, I think, from the drops the linebackers were getting and the safeties. And they just missed a lot of tackles in this game. And a lot of it is New Orleans was catching with space, and you didn't get a full body hit. It was more of a side swipe, and you missed tackles. They missed a lot of tackles in this game. So this defense has been great all year. I expect him to bounce back. But Matt Ryan can throw the ball. I mean, he is an elite thrower of the football, and he got to deal with Julio. So, yeah, I mean, you'd like to see the defense come right back and have a bounce-back game because that was by far the worst game they played this year.
Greg, now you've seen the Seahawks. You'll see them again. You've seen the Packers. You've seen the Saints. If the Niners, have this run that they're capable of in the postseason, they'll see those guys again, or some of them. Which one do you think the Niners Which one would give them the most trouble if they saw him again?
Well, based on what I saw in New Orleans, even though Seattle beat them, I think the Seattle game, I'm still not convinced they beat the 49ers. I think it could have been a tie at the end, and it just went down to the end. They made a player here or there. The 49ers usually could have won that game, and that was not the 49ers' best effort. They dropped how many passes in that game? 9? Yeah. They were sloppy in that game. So I think they were off. But the Green Bay, I think the 49er pass rush really bothered them in that game. And then, New Orleans was able to get some really big plays in the game, obviously. And they had some injuries. They didn't have Jared Cook. They didn't have Zach Line, their fullback. They didn't have their linebackers. They didn't have Kiko Alonso and A.J. Klein. So I think they're going to be, if they do see him again, a better team. Now, I think the 49ers could go into Lambeau and win. I think they could go into Century Link and win. And I think they go back into that dome in New Orleans and win. But you don't want to have to do that. You want to make it easier on yourself. So as great as they're feeling right now, and they're back on top as the number 1 seed, if they lose that Seattle game, they drop all the way down to 5. And you may have, these 3 in a row. You probably have to go to the NFC East would be the first game, so you wouldn't get them all. But it's possible that, we'll see how it goes, but it's possible you would have to deal with Green Bay and Minnesota in a potential first round. The loser of that NFC North, I don't think it'll be that way. Probably more likely Dallas or Philadelphia. But you could have a scenario where you got to deal with 2 or all 3 of these teams come January. And I think the 49ers could beat all 3 of them on the road. Well, you don't want to do that.
Right. And
you don't want to play an extra game and just run the risk of more injuries because you've already been injured enough. So, but I think New Orleans and Sean Payton, in the way he was able to dial it up, was pretty impressive. So I think of the 3 teams, even though Seattle beat the 49ers, I think New Orleans gave them a hell of a good scare in losing.
Well, it's been a fun journey to watch these guys. As we said, the most entertaining team in football. Greg, have a great call this weekend, and we look forward to talking to you again next week.
Thank you, guys. We'll talk next Thursday.
All right,
have a good day.
All right, you too.
The Drive.